So they just completely just gutted Bladestorm out of the game. A very important update has just released for the War Within with regards to classes, whether it's PvE or PvP, with tuning adjustments that are going to impact the game. This is a massive one. We're going to be covering everything that's going on with it in this breakdown. And if you want to make sure that you stay up to date with changes related to World of Warcraft, then smash that subscribe button so you don't miss a beat. But let's get started because there is a lot. I am starting this one on the PvP side of things because I feel like we haven't seen like a lot of PvP specific ones. So I'm really interested to see what they're aware of or what is the like overall direction that they're thinking as far as the tuning is going. So for Death Knight, Strangulate PvP talent will now override Asphyxiate, but its cooldown will be decreased to 45 from 60 seconds. Its duration will also be increased to 5 from 4, and its range has been increased from 20 to 15. So it's a much more powerful silence effect, but you will be losing a stun on it, more notably for Unholy Death Knight, I think. As Frost, you're likely still going to be able to get AoE stuns. This is kind of a buff to Frost Death Knight more than Unholy because you get stuns even without Asphyxiate, and this makes your silence a lot more threatening at 5 seconds. This is quite a long CC that you can actually attack like a healer in, or silence a healer and attack something else. I would say this is actually indirectly a buff for Frost Death Knight. Cleansed by Flame now will cleanse one magical effect instead of all magical effects. It's an improvement. I would still rather this talent be cleansed from the game entirely, especially considering that this is like the most painful talent as Elemental Shaman, Destruction Warlock, where you only really have one debuff. So like you're going to put the one debuff off and then they're going to cleanse the one debuff. I see this. I mean, you can maybe cover it with like Earthbind, Totem, and Frost Shock and maybe like hope that they don't get lucky with it a little bit at least, but I would have just much rather seen this talent removed altogether. It's nice that they've got their eye on this specifically, because I think it's a very problematic talent. I don't like that it's baked into the rotation of the class in order to remove it. It's like unconscious. You're just doing damage and passively just destroying like at least 3 to 5 specs in the game just by doing your damage rotation. So it's like, it's nice that they're being aware of it, but I probably would have much rather just seen it removed. For Druid, new PvP talent, Tireless Pursuit. For 5 seconds after leaving cat form or travel form, you retain up to 40% movement speed. So this was a baseline Druid talent. Now it's a PvP talent. I don't really know what classes would be able to get away with losing PvP talents at the moment, because a lot of them, it's like pretty set in stone. Like for Boomkin, you got like 2 locked in talents usually, and then 1 you flex around. Maybe Boomkin I could see taking this. I don't think Resto Druid will have much use for it though. Although maybe what are they doing with High Winds? High Winds has been redesigned, increasing the range of Cyclone, Typhoon, and Entangling Roots by 5 yards. So they're removing the 15% damage and healing, which is likely better for the game. I think that it was slowing down the game, but also we're not going to have a Mortal Wounds effect to apply to healers anymore with Cyclone. And this was one of the talents that was locked in. So maybe you'll switch it out. I mean, the extra range is not that bad, especially for Cyclone. So maybe you'll switch this out now, actually. Yeah, I think maybe just getting Disarm or getting Thorns is probably going to be more value than that. So kind of some nerfs, I would say. That's a pretty substantial nerf to Resto and to Moonkin. I don't think has access to it or was not really using it, but I'm pretty sure Moonkin definitely, but maybe a little bit of a nerf to Resto. This talent, I'm surprised to see them remove, Tranquilizing Darts. I actually thought that this was reasonably well tuned for Hunter, considering Trank Shot had been pretty weak. Maybe this is because they're introducing Trank Shot that's going to remove 2 debuffs now. It's like Greater Purge for Hunters. Maybe it had some problems with this on top of it being Greater Purge. I'm not sure. So maybe they removed it because of like a technical reason, because I don't think from like a balance perspective that wasn't. This was like one of the few things that could like keep a Resto Druid in check, or enabled you to be able to like remove Blessing Protections reliably. But I guess with the Greater Purge PvP talent, it's not like it's maybe entirely necessary anymore. But it seems a bit strange. For Mage, new PvP talent, Fireheart, Blazing Barriers damage is increased by 500%. How much is that? How much is 500%? Is this thing just going to one-shot someone that attacks you with Blazing Barrier? That is something I'm going to have to log on and test, follow my stream, and we'll go see what exactly is going on with that, because that's a big number, 500%. Like, but maybe it's 5%, 500% of 0, so it might not be anything. They're removing Flame Cannon, but they're not removing Glass Cannon. So you're not going to be able to, I think this is the stacking HP, if I'm not mistaken on this. I feel like that's a big loss. That's a huge loss. And the extra range also. So I think you got like extra range and HP maybe from standing still or something like that. Oh my God, that's a huge nerf. So they're trying to compensate you from being able to, I think this is trying to get away from like the gameplay where fire mages just sit 100 million yards away and you can't do anything about it, and then compensating you by giving you this talent that's like, well, when people get in your face, they're also going to take more damage. I think that's likely the move here, which is probably healthier for the game, but this number needs to be in a spot where that's also more realistic. For Monk, grapple weapon is having its range reduced to 20 yards from 30. So you're not going to be able to just kind of like whip this out against a hunter wherever you want. You're going to kind of have to be targeting the hunter or a lot closer to that target. Given how much mobility they're getting, I don't think this is going to be too big of a deal. For Mistweaver, new PvP talent, Rodeo. So now every monk spec's getting Clash, which is like a pseudo death grip where you like charge and headbutt each other halfway. Every 3 seconds while Clash is off cooldown, your next Clash can be reactivated immediately to wildly clash an additional enemy. This effect can stack up to 3 times. So you can just like death grip a whole team. You could just Clash somebody together and then Clash another person together. And you can just clump people together as a Mistweaver and as a Windwalker. You can also get that. So you could be like a Death Gripper, you know, maybe in like even in like team fight situations in RBGs, because I know solo queue RBGs. I'm wondering if that's like what they're thinking for this one, because I don't know if they really needed that for Arena. Like I thought that was like kind of like the Death Knight niche, kind of just like replacing Death Knights if you're able to get that much of a Death Grip effect out of it. Could be interesting. When I was dueling monks, it felt like almost entirely unnecessary that they had Clash. It felt like really crazy strong. New PvP talent, Rising Dragon Sweep. Whirling Dragon Punch knocks enemies up into the air and causes them to fall slowly until they reach the ground. How far up in the air are we going? Why do I need to fall slowly? Don't they already... but they're removing Mighty Ox Kick, which was like... I was going to say, didn't they have like a backflip kick that sends you up in the air? I was going to be like... Okay. And they're removing Alpha Tiger. So these are some pretty big losses, I think. Those are... I mean, Mighty Ox Kick was situationally good, but Alpha Tiger seems like a pretty big loss. This could be funny. I other than that, like maybe on a Z-axis map it'll be strong, but it could be funny. For Paladin, Wrench Evil. Turn Evil is just 100% reduced cast speed. So Paladin's like the hard counter to Death Knight, the hard counter to Warlock again, because you can just instantly fear the most important pets, which there are a lot of important undead and demon pets at the moment. But Judgments of the Pure has been removed. Hey, I like that. That's a good thing. Let's do that to this one. There you go. That's a good one. I don't know why this one needs to linger around and be slightly annoying still. This is good. I like that. That is very good. Get it out of here. This is good. Holy Paladins were even starting to take this to get themselves out of Root Beam also. I'm glad this thing is gone. As from playing my Ellie Shaman and Destro Lock and stuff like that, like these talents that just dispelled things were super frustrating. This is 100% justified. For Shaman, Sky Fury Totem's redesigned. It's now no longer an additional keybind. When you press Primordial Wave, you'll automatically cast Sky Fury Totem, which is probably when you would have put it down anyways. But you need to take Primordial Wave in order to get it. And there's builds for Shaman right now, like the Stormbringer, that you're probably not going to play Primordial Wave. So it's a little bit maybe frustrating there. But I think for Resto Shaman and for Enhancement, that's fine. And I think it's fine for like the Lava Burst for the Farseer build of Ellie. That's fine. It reduces the keybind, makes it a little bit more accessible. Fell Lord is getting a buff, 80% increased damage. I don't think Fell Lord has done substantial damage since like Legion or something like that. So it could be nice if we saw the Fell Lord actually relevant again. But that's at the trade-off of Fell Obelisk being removed. Now, Fell Obelisk was likely going to be really powerful, especially with these new Hound Dogs you can summon into the battle at the moment. You're getting a lot more demons. And this is going to reduce the ability count is likely what I'm thinking they're thinking for this, or maybe it's going to open up Fell Lord because now you can't take Fell Obelisk. It doesn't exist. So you can actually take Fell Lord instead. For Warrior, Master and Commander now reduces the cooldown of Rallying Cry by 90 seconds up from 60. Battlefield Commander PvP talent now increases the radius of Piercing Howl by 50, and it no longer roots. That is a massive nerf. That is a very massive nerf. The root was like the main reason you took this, aside from like the percent health increase, which you'll probably still take this talent for anyways. But not being able to root with this is a big nerf to like trying to attack like evokers or hunters that are constantly like a little bit more slippery. This root was like really necessary in the situation. So that's going to be felt like a pretty big nerf. Death Sentence is just gone. I was fooling around with it a little bit on the beta, but it didn't really feel like it was entirely necessary to still have in the game. So I don't think this is a huge loss. For arms, Storm and Destruction has been redesigned. It now reduces healing on affected targets by 25% and no longer reduces the cooldown. That's a big nerf. That's a big nerf. You were getting a lot of Blade Storms at the moment. So, I mean, maybe it won't be felt as too big of a nerf. Honestly, the Blade Storms weren't as big of an issue as far as balance were concerned, to me at least. It was more like self-healing and Second Wind and the healing that was more of a problem, but this is likely going to be felt as a pretty significant nerf. Duel has duration increased to 12 seconds, and its sound effect has been changed to be more noticeable. So apparently you're going to know when the warrior is dueling you, and it's going to last longer. So Duel is getting some buffs. For Fury Warrior, Enduring Rage PP talent now can activate Recklessness without Enrage active, and the duration of Recklessness granted has been increased by 1 second. Okay. Slaughterhouse now stacks its effect. If another healing reduction effect is active, oh, thank God this is finally happening, dude. Its effect, once its effectiveness would surpass the effective healing reduction, or the active healing reduction is removed. This is the biggest buff to Fury Warrior ever in the game. Biggest buff, especially in solo shuffle or any battlegrounds or anything where there's another class that has MS and you're like, please, I can't stack my MS. Mine's better, but I have to wait till it grows up to be big and strong to be better than yours, and I can't activate it. So that is very, they're removing Storm and Destruction entirely. Now, Fury is getting Blade Storm, so you're not going to be able to get access to that cooldown reduction whatsoever. And Blood Rage, which I think is the ability to remove a root. So now you are getting hero talents that remove roots, and maybe that's their logic here, is like, well, you can charge out of the root. Now we can remove Blood Rage and reduce the ability count, but that root break was really good, and that kind of makes you locked in on that one specific hero talent tree. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It wasn't Mountain Thing. It was the other one. That seems like it could be a big nerf for Fury Warrior, and they're changing the reward structure here. Now, obviously, we're not getting Great Vaults anymore for PvP. So they bumped up the amount of conquests we're getting per week to get gear, but I think they're changing the way that we're getting weapons now. I think they're going to be giving us a quest. They can earn a set of conquest weapons suitable for their specialization without having to spend conquest. So we don't have to buy the weapons. Players can pick up the quest Weapons of Conquest either by entering a rated PvP match or by going to the vendor. It'll task them to earn 2,500 conquests, which is achievable on the end of week 3. Players then can complete this quest by speaking to Lalandi, and she will give you the weapons, shields, offhands appropriate for your spec. After completing this quest, players will be able to use Conquest to purchase weapons normally, so for another spec if you wanted to switch specs later on. So that's a nice way of catching you up. I think removing the RNG elements of like, hey, this guy got 4-piece like a week earlier and now they're a god for a week, I think that is kind of nice from removing the vault. I'm a bit concerned with how it's going to work with unlocking sockets and everything else that's going on with that, because some of the PvP gems aren't that strong. Like if you use Precognition, sure, you're probably going to run it. There's one that gives you damage reduction when you're stunned. If you're a class that dies in a stun, you're probably going to run that. And then the third option was like you get CC to gives you like some random buff on an attack, which I think was an embellishment nobody was using in PvP. That third PvP gem is really weak. Whereas the PvE gem is like you get 5% crit damage. I think a lot of classes are probably going to prefer that. And I don't know how getting all of that stuff is going to work now with it being separated. Like these are distinctly PvP gems and these are not PvP gems. So I'm a bit worried about that. This is a nice update though, as far as like getting gear faster for our characters from PvP specifically, given the fact that they're going to be removing a lot of that. Now, we have a huge amount of class changes. Those were just the PvP specific ones. This is all the class tuning that is going on. That's going to impact the game as a whole. Warbands, Cross-Realm Guilds has been extended to allow for recruitment and management of guild members across all realms in their respective regions. Okay, there's Cross-Realm Guilds. So I didn't know that was happening, but okay, that's the thing. That's the thing that is happening. For Death Knight hero talents, Death's Bargain renamed to Pact of the Deathbringer. Okay, we've got a rename. Exterminate now deals reduced damage beyond 8. They're just snipping that, making sure all AoE is below 8. Sand Lane. This was a really OP hero talent tree, so I'm wondering what the tuning has been going on with this. Visceral Regeneration, renamed and redesigned Visceral Strength. When Crimson, Scourge, and Sun Doom is consumed, you gain 5% strength. This is a rename. Infliction of Sorrow now deals 100% of the remaining damage to the consumed disease, down from about 200. That's a significant nerf. Fixing an issue that prevented Blood Beasts from spawning. Oh, I was wondering if that was a bug or not. Sometimes people were not proccing them for a long time. Unholy. Infliction of Sorrow now only functions as a virulent plague for Unholy Death Knight. So not really anything too significant there, I don't think. For Blood, a new talent, Bloodied Blade. Parrying an attack grants you a charge of Bloodied Blade, increasing your strength by 0.5%, up to 4 for 15 seconds. At 8 stacks, your next parry consumes all charges to unleash a Heart Strike at 200% effectiveness and increases your strength by 10%. This has very strong potential of making you viable in PvP. Anything that's like attack modifier damage increasing stuff usually has a good chance of like you might pop up into PvP a little bit like Brewmaster did in Dragonflight. It's a decent amount of stat increase, I think, for PvE, so it's probably going to be pretty desirable for Blood. Several talents have been moved around. For Frost, Obliteration now has an additional effect. While Pillar of Frost is active, it will now also increase the cost of your Frost Strike by up to 15, but it will also do 52.5% additional damage. Oh my god, Frost Strike is going to be a pumper. That is going to be a pumper spell right there. And with a 5-second Strangulate from those PP changes that we went through already. That is a pumper spell. Unholy. Foul Infections now correctly increases disease crit chance by a flat 5%. Previously it was multiplicative. Unholy Blight is now passive and now surrounds the Ghoul instead of the Death Knight. That's like a nerf. I feel like it's hard to get your pet like guaranteed around stuff. Dark Transformation surrounds your Ghoul with a Vile Sword. Oh, it's because they're trying to make it passive and not an extra keybind. So Dark Transformation will just activate it on your pet at the same time. Stinging all nearby enemies and infecting them. So you have to be really aware of where your pet is when you're activating this, because you might lose out on the Unholy Blight effect as well. Sudden Doom no longer calls Epidemic to burst festering wounds on targets. Try just bringing it in line with all the changes they made to Sudden Doom. It got buffed a lot, so this is probably just like bringing its damage in line. When talented into Harbinger of Doom, Sudden Doom now displays the activation overlay images separately left and right for each stack, so making the UI more readable. I think it's a good change. We don't see anything targeting like healing though, or the like, and maybe we're not that far along down the pipeline yet for the beta, but that was like the main thing I was looking for was, you know, tuning adjustments towards healing and defenses, because I've seen defensive and healing discussions even from PvE players. That's becoming a bit of a problem. For Demon Hunter, Illuminated Sigils now grants an additional charge of only the Sigil of Flame, so no more second charge of Silence or Fear, and also reduces the cooldown of Flame. That's a massive nerf in PvP to tank Demon Hunter. You lose the double Silence, you lose the double Fear. Like, I think that completely destroys it, aside from being a flag carrier. I think in, you know, rated battleground situations, which I was also thinking, like, they should probably give, like, Vengeance Demon Hunters and Guardian Druids the Prot Paladin treatment in solo shuffle, where they only fight each other, because Prot Warrior versus Vengeance Demon Hunter as a flag carrier is just, it's never going to happen. It's never going to work. The mobility is just so much, especially, like, Prot Paladin versus Vengeance or Guardian Druid. It's just not comparable. They kind of need to only face each other in those situations, but that's something, you know, more specific. For Eldrachi Reaver, new talent, Fury of the Eldrachi. When enhanced by Reaver's Glade, Blade Dance Soul Cleave deals 3 additional glaive slashes to nearby enemies, and if cast after Chaos Strike or Fracture or Shear, it deals 6 slashes instead. This is so far looking like the cooler Demon Hunter tree, the Eldrachi Reaver, so that sounds like a pretty cool effect. I'll be honest, that sounds really cool. Art of the Glaive has been redesigned, begins a well-practiced pattern of glaive work, and enhances your next Chaos Strike I'm assuming not of Blade Dance. Maybe it's it's both. The enhanced ability you cast first deals 10% increased damage. The second deals 20% increase. These are huge. They seem huge buffs for Demon Hunter. Intent Pursuit has been redesigned. When enhanced by Reaver's Glaive, Chaos Strike, Fracture, or Shear applies Reaver's Mark, which causes the target to take 15% increased damage for 20 seconds. If cast after Blade Dance Soul Cleave, Reaver's Mark is increased to 30%. These seem crazy good. Casting the Hunt allows you to cast Reaver's Glaive. Incisive Blade always increases Chaos Strike and Soul Cleave's damage, was only when enhanced. Adjusted positions of Incisive Blade, Keen Engagement, Preemptive Strike, Escalation has just been completely removed. Now, is that the double? I don't know if Escalation is the double Vengeful Retreat or not, because this talent tree, I believe, has like double Vengeful Retreat. I'm not sure if that's what that talent is called. Let me know if anybody who's played that. I'll check that myself as well, but for as of right now, I'm not sure if that is or isn't. For Druid hero talents, Chosen's Elunes, Moondust now slows enemies only by 20%. Rip. It was 30. I was going to enjoy my little 30% snare on Moonfire. Now it's only 20. Not going to really matter that much. Stellar Command now increases Full Moon's damage by 25% up from 15. They really want to make Full Moon. At the moment with this build, I'd been playing only Fury of Elune. I might have to give it a go now with Full Moon and see how it works. Maybe it could be fun in Battlegrounds, but in Arena, I feel like you're just going to get kicked all the time. But in Battlegrounds, we might be able to just sneak away and open up from a far distance away. Full Moon might actually see some play. For Evoker hero talents, Corona Warden, Temporal Burst now increases haste, movement speed, and cooldown recovery rate by 30%, decreasing over 30 seconds. This was previously 1%, increasing up to 40 over 40 seconds. So it's just trying to give you, this is a lot of cooldown recovery. Augmentation Evoker is actually really good. It's really good right now in the beta. Like in Mythic Plus and PvP, it's really good. This sounds like this could be crazy good with this. Although Scale Commander is like a really competitive talent tree at the moment though for augmentation. But this seems really good. 30% haste, cooldown recovery, and movement speed. So you're just hovering around really fast. That could be really, really fun. For Scale Commander, Unrelenting Siege now increases the damage of Disintegrate and Eruption, Living Flame, and Azure Strike by 1% up to 15. Stacks are now also used to communicate the value. Was previously Living Flame and Azure Strike. So putting this into Disintegrate makes this really bursty. Scale Commander just got a lot more burst. This is the AoE Disintegrate. Getting this now into Disintegrate as opposed to Living Flame is really bursty. So I think Devastation Evoker is likely going to feel a bit better. I was actually just playing Devastation this morning, and that could feel okay. That could feel pretty crazy. Now for Hunter, Trailblazer and Pathfinding have swapped locations. Fixing an issue that caused Post Haste to only grant 25. Now it grants 50. Fixing an issue that caused Born to be Wild to falsely claim to reduce the cooldown of Survival of the Fittest. Falsely claimed to reduce the cooldown. Was it not? So it didn't reduce the cooldown? So we just got 2 charges of Survival of the Fittest in the most recent rework, which I'll have linked in the video at the end of this one, but that could be a big deal. For Sentinel, Symphonic Arsenal damage reduced by 40%. No. And it's capped down to 5. Is this the Owl is going to do 40% less damage? It was already not doing that much damage in PvP. I don't know, dude. It was cool. It was a little owl circle you put on the ground. People just moved out of it anyways, and if it's not going to do any damage and people can move out of it, I feel like some of these hero talent abilities are probably going to need PvP modifiers. Because that's if that's what I think it is, it's going to be really sad for Hunters. For Beast Mastery, Thrill the Hunter now properly stacks to 3. That's a bit scary that wasn't doing that. But War Orders now properly grant a 50% chance to reset the cooldown of Kill Command. And the position of Hunter's Prey and Wild Call have been swapped. Killer Cobra is, in Gate 2 has been renamed to Venom's Bite. Huntmaster's Call is providing a substantial amount of damage despite how easy it is to access. Huntmaster's Call has had the following adjustments. Fenrir's Revenous Leap damage. Oh, they're nerfing Fenrir and Hades. I was just talking about this in the Hunter video, how crazy this was. So you're going to do 30% less damage. Hades only going to buff the pets by 8% instead of 15. And their attacks have been normalized and reduced. So there's a pretty massive nerf to Hades and Fenrir. Hunters have new visuals and sound effects when Huntmaster's Call summons Hades or Fenrir. Kill Command is getting 8% buff. Dire Beast is getting a 10%, and Dire Beast now grants 20 focus. Those are some pretty substantial buffs. BM has been feeling really good since the change. I say Survival's maybe the best spec, but BM was feeling really good. Harpoon and Aspect of the Eagle are now baseline to Survival Hunter. I like that. Fear of the Eagle now benefit from Tip of the Spear, which is nice. Fury of the Eagle does not consume a stack of Tip of the Spear until the channel ends. Contagious Reagents no longer plays the Serpent Sting animation or audio multiple times. That's just a little quality of life bug fix. Terms of Engagement is now located where Harpoon used to be on the Survival spec tree. Exposed Flank has been redesigned. Flanking Strike exposes a weakness in your enemy's defenses, causing it to strike 2 additional targets at 100% effectiveness and causing Kill Command to hit 2 additional enemies. So this is changing Flanking Strike from like a massive hit into like a cleave ability is what it seems like, right? It's gonna strike 2 additional targets and Kill Command cleaves. So that'll be really good in like PvE, but in PvP I don't think you're going to care too much about that. I don't think it's going to. So it's honestly probably going to be a nerf in PvP. Explosive Shot now benefits from Tip of the Spear. That's really good. The following changes are targeted out, smoothing out Survival's rotation such that you can reasonably maintain a spell priority, aren't Munchied procs, and will have more to actively manage your focus economy. We will continue to read feedback and adjust Survival's action and focus economy as necessary. Fix an issue that was causing Flanker's advantage to substantially increase Kill Command's chance to reset its cooldown and substantially increase Tip of the Spear's bonus damage. Flanking Strike damage has been increased by 40%, now costs 20 focus and generates 2 stacks of Tip of the Spear. Wildfire Bomb cost 10 focused. Explosive Expert now reduces Wildfire Bomb by 1 to 2 seconds. It was 2 to 4. Wildfire Infusion now makes Kill Command reduce the cooldown of Wildfire Bomb from 1 down from 2. So they're worried about like capping on the amount of things you could do all at once. It seems like with these changes. Grenade Juggler now makes Explosive Shot reduce the cooldown of Wildfire Bomb from 2 down from 4. Same thing with that. Now causes Wildfire Bomb to have a 25% chance to also fire Explosive Shot at your target, 100% effectiveness. This was 25% chance to reset the cooldown. So it's just going to automatically shoot it. You don't have to worry about the cooldown reduction and juggling that, which means, oh my god, you're just going to be proccing Explosive Shots. You don't even have to use the GCD. You're literally just going to be proccing Explosive Shots, and they changed it when you apply a new one. The old one just explodes instantly. Oh my god, that's going to be so disgustingly powerful. That is going to be so disgustingly powerful. It got even stronger than it was before. Bombardier now grants 2 free charges of Explosive Shot after Coordinated Assault ends, used to make Explosive Shot have 0 cooldown and cause 0 focus for 4 seconds. Now for mages, Spell Slinger, Splintered Orbs, update for Arcane only. The first enemy damaged by your Arcane Orb conjures 4 splinters. That's a huge buff. Arcane is looking really good at the moment, by the way, in the expansion. I'm going to start doing some reviews and, should you main videos as well, but like right now, it's just off the cuff. It's looking really strong, really good at the moment. Spellfrost Teachings updated for Arcane only. Spellfrost Teachings now automatically launches Arcane Orb when it procs rather than resetting the cooldown. So they're giving you the auto-procking orbs as well as the hunters, the auto-procking explosive shots. Oh my god. The main problem with this one is that you're just going to shoot this orb and probably break CC, but it's going to be a lot of damage. The difference in effectiveness between Arcane Orb and Frozen Orb and single target versus AoE is stark. These changes should help Arcane Mages to feel as though they're still getting full benefit out of their hero talents and single target relative to Frost Mages, who can much more easily get the full benefit. Sun Fury for Arcane and Fire lessens in debilitation, no longer casts a crowd-controlled spell when you summon your Phoenix. A crowd-controlled spell? I don't know what that means. Mages have access to a free off-global crowd-controlled spell every time they use their cooldowns was proving to be problematic in all forms of content. No longer cast a crowd-controlled spell when you summon your Phoenix. I don't remember what this was to know what this is. It seems like a nerf. You're not going to get an extra CC, though. Gravity Lapse now benefits from time manipulation in the Mage class tree, fixing an issue that was causing Spellfire spheres to be removed from players upon starting an encounter. I don't know if you're going to take Gravity Lapse anymore, unfortunately. No, that's not a stun. I was actually thinking it was kind of okay for mages to get a stun, but no, that's not a stun. It's a root. I don't even know if you're going to really take it. Meteorites will now properly benefit from damage amplification effects and proc on damage effects. Codex of the Sunstrider has been redesigned over its duration. Your Arcane Phoenix will consume each of your Spellfire spheres to cast an exceptional spell. Upon consuming a Spellfire sphere, your Arcane Phoenix will grant you Lingering Embers, increasing your spell damage by 2% second with 5. That's crazy. Spellfire spheres now properly increase periodic spell damage. For Arcane, Glorious Incandescence has been redesigned. Consuming Burden of Power causes your next Arcane Barrage to grant 4 Arcane charges and call down a storm of 4 meteorites on its target. Okay. I sure it's good. Mana Cascade has been redesigned. Casting Arcane Blast or Arcane Barrage grants you 1% haste stacking up to 10 times. Multiple instances may overlap. Spellfire spheres are now generated by casting 6 Arcane Blasts or Arcane Barrages was consuming clear casting. So you got a more guaranteed way of farming them. For Fire, Sun King's Fury Enhanced Pyro Blast Flame Strikes will correctly grant combustion when you gain hyperthermia during the Sun King's Fury hardcast. For Arcane, the position of many of the nodes have changed. Now the Musicians has been redesigned. When your Touch of the Magi detonates, it increases the damage of all affected targets they take from you for 8%. Improved Touch of the Magi is no longer a choice node. It's Magi Spark. Magi Spark and Nether Munitions are now a choice node. Magi Spark explosion damage increased by 300%. Magi Spark echo damage increased by 100 up from 50. They are buffing Magi Spark here. Magi Spark's explosion will now properly benefit from spell damage amplification effects and will contribute to Touch of the Magi. Arcane Blast is getting 10% damage buff. Arcane Barrage is getting 12% damage buff. Arcane Missiles is getting 10% damage buff. Lay Drinker has an increased chance of by 5% to trigger, and Lay Drinker now echoes for 50% of the damage up from 15. Arcane did not need these buffs, man. Arcane is getting crazy. Arcane Missiles, Barrage, Supernova Shifting Power can now properly generate clear casting, and Wizened Wit has been completely removed. They've changed your set bonuses. It now benefits Arcane Barrage instead of Arcane Explosion. Proc chance reduced to 5 from 10, and the damage buff has been increased to 20 from 10. For Fire, Pyromaniac procs now count as consuming a hot streak, and this is now communicated in the talent tooltip. Pyromaniac, Flame Strike, and Pyroblast echoes can no longer contribute to hot streak. Living Bomb damage reduced by 30%. Sparking Cinders damage bonus reduced to 10 from 15. Sparking Cinders will now trigger at most 3 times a minute, increased with haste. Phoenix Flames damage reduced by 10. Pyroblast reduced by 10. Intensifying Flames Ignite damage bonus reduced by 5. Nerfs to Fire, buffs to Arcane is what it seems like here. For Mage, Permafrost Lances, Frozen Orb increases Ice Lance damage by 15% for 15 seconds. This is really good with the new Frozen Orb build. Okay, Ice Caller is now located at the Snowstorm's previous location. Fixed an issue that allowed Frost spell slingers to generate splinters with other players' Winter's Chill. Snowstorm removed. For their set bonuses, Ice Lance is just getting a 8% increase on top of that 15. Okay, damage from Fingers of Frost enhanced. Ice Lances invoke a Frigid Pulse, dealing frost damage to nearby enemies. It's gonna be really good for just trash AoE. It's going to be really good for trash AoE, for Fingers of Frost, getting a little bit of extra AoE. Heightened Guard reduced to 40% for Brewmaster. For Windwalker, Chi Burst is being redesigned. Your damaging spells and abilities have a chance to activate Chi Burst, allowing you to hurl a torrent of energy up to 40 yards forward, dealing nature damage to all enemies and healing the monk and their allies in its path. So you're just going to proc Kamehamehas. So we got the Explosive Shot procs, we got the Arcane Orb procs, and we got the Kamehameha procs from Windwalker now. Everybody's just going to be proc. It's like you proc to Star Surge and it automatically fires at the target. Fixed an issue that caused Chi Burst to deal more damage than intended while Storm, Earth, and Fire was active. For Paladins, Herald of the Sun, Holy and Ret, Sun Avatar's healing reduced. Ooh, that's a lot, by 40%. Dawn Light healing reduced by 20. Ooh, Sun Avatar now. This is what I meant by you don't want to be the flower that grows too high, bro. You get cut early, dude. Now activates 1 Dawn Light when Awakening activates. Avenging Wrath, it was previously 4. Second Sunrise can no longer activate Divine Purpose. These are big nerfs. Sun's Avatar will now always pick players when applied to its friendly Dawn Lights. Fixed an issue that caused Awakening to stack from Second Sunrise. Fixed an issue that caused Sun's Avatar to not activate when Awakening extends an active Avenging Wrath. Retribution. Sun's Avatar now triggers 1 Dawn Light when Avenging Wrath is triggered by Radiant of Glory, was previously 4. For Lightsmith, Sacred Weapons now deal area of effect damage and healing. And Shining Light stacks to a minimum of 2. I haven't seen a lot of the Lightsmith. It's like they put like weapons on the ground and you can like pick them up or something like that. It actually seemed kind of cool, but I've literally not. I'm gonna have to make a Paladin and try this one, but this could be interesting for Holy. I think the AoE damage will be really nice in PvE, but it probably won't matter in PvP. Divine Favor is being redesigned. It's now a passive that triggers automatically after you cast Holy Prism or Barrier of Faith. So making Holy Prism a button that presses, then you get this big buff towards your casted spells. Reduce the keybinds. It seems like they're trying to do that across the board. A lot of people have been talking about that. Reduce keybinds, and they're doing it. Several talent locations have moved to facilitate Divine Favor's choice node, moving below Holy Prism's choice node. Cauterizing Shadows for Priest can now trigger from enemies dying with Shadow Word Pain or Purge the Wicked active, regardless of the duration. Added 5% spell variance to Power Word Shield and Luminous Barrier. This is like a little cheesy RPG thing. It doesn't matter. Void Weaver, Void damage. Oh my god, Void Blast. You're getting a 25% nerf. You got a 25% nerve. You out of here, bro. Discipline, fix an issue causing Dark Reprimand to consume 2 charges of Premonition of Insight. For Holy, fix an issue for Holy Fire, consuming the Premonition of Insight. And fix an issue with Chastise, the same issue here. Fix an issue causing the range of Psychic Link to not be increased by Phantom Reach. Shadow Priest, I think Priests in general are getting a talent that increases their range, which is likely going to be really good. Now, Rogue. I haven't seen a lot about Rogue. So what are they doing here for Rogue? Deathstalker's mark damage increased by 100%, and it now applies 2 marks baseline, down from 3. Hunt Them Down damage increased by 100%. Lingering Darkness increased to 30 seconds. Flensing Knives damage increased by 100%. Darkest Night now grants 40 energy, previously was 60. Applies 2 stacks of Deathstalker's mark, was 3. And its damage is increased by 100%. These changes were applied via hotfix during last week's beta testing. Okay, so all these changes seem to be really focused around the raid testing that they've done in Mythic Plus. So likely with this, I think they're going to do a Battleground test here on the 21st now. I think we may see things that are more oriented towards PvP specifically after that at that time. This seems much more focused around like raid and Mythic Plus, but will have effects on PvP. For Warlock, where's Shaman, bro? Wait a minute, did I miss Shaman? Shamans, dude, what's going on with you? You're not even on the list. You don't even get one thing. I'm sorry, Shamans. I'm sorry. You don't even get one thing, dude. I'm sorry. We're on to Warlock. Diabolist. The cast time of Infernal Bolt has increased to 2 from 1. Oh, okay, so it's not going to be like almost instant cast. Ruination damage is going to do reduced damage beyond 8. What about single target? Man, I've been one-shot by this thing in PvP. So like 5 million damage. Overlord, Mother of Chaos, and Pitlord are now visible to other players at a reduced scale and will retain their original scale for the summoner. Overlord now changes its target rather than leaps. How do you guys feel about them reducing the size of pets? So there's just a bunch of like little mini pets running around. I think it's still kind of annoying, and then it just kind of like breaks the immersion also. It's just like, what is going on? This little tiny little demon thing. I don't know about like the shrinking, the like mini me's and stuff like that. I don't know how to feel about it. Mother of Chaos Salvo visual has been updated. For Hellcaller, Seeds of Their Demise has been redesigned for destruction. Blackened Soul damage increased by 30%, and when Blackened Soul deals damage, you have a chance to gain 2 stacks of Flashpoint. Ooh, that seems good. Zevran's Resilience healing increased by 90%. Soul Harvester for Demonology and Affliction. New talent, Gore Fiend's Resolve. Targets resurrected with Soulstone resurrect with 40% additional health. Oh no, it's a dead talent, guys. In PvP, it's a dead talent. Unless maybe you can Soulstone in solo queue rated BGs, but I'm pretty sure it's a dead talent. Spirit Away has just been spirited away. For Affliction Warlocks, Death's Embrace has been redesigned. Increases drain life healing by 30% while your health is at or below 35%. Damage done by your agony, corruption, unstable affliction, malefic rapture is increased by 10 up from 5. And when your target is at or below 35%, was previously 20, making this a lot more viable in terms of just buffing your overall damage. Malediction has been redesigned, increasing the critical strike chance of agony, corruption, unstable affliction by 10%. So I think dot crits have some new mechanic on your kit as affliction. I don't remember exactly, but this could actually be a really good talent because of that new mechanic. Malign Omen has been moved to row 9. Dark Harvest has been moved to row 10. For Demonology, Blood Invocation has been redesigned. Power Siphon increases the damage of Demon Bolt by an additional 25%. Doom is now passive and has been redesigned. When Demon Bolt consumes a demonic core, it inflicts impending doom on the target, dealing shadow damage to enemies within 10 yards of its target after 20 seconds. Damage is reduced beyond 8 targets. Consuming a demonic core reduces the duration of doom by 2. So just reduce the keybind bloat. Again, I think that overall they've been doing good with like mixing and merging these together. I think that's going to be nice as far as reducing the keybinds for Warlocks. Impending Doom has been redesigned, increasing the damage of Doom by 30%, and Doom summons a Wild Imp when it expires. Doom Eternal has been redesigned. Demonic Cores reduce the duration of Doom by an additional 2 seconds. And Infernal Presence, damage reduced by 50%. I have no idea what that is. I wish I could tell you what that is, but I have no idea what that is, but it's reduced by 50%. If that sounds like a big deal to you in Demonology Warlock, you know now, and you can let us know in the comments. Warlock, Unstable Rifts. Bolts from Dimensional Rift deal 25% of the damage dealt to nearby enemies as fire. Okay, I think this is back. It got added, then removed, and now it's back. Chaos Incarnate has been redesigned. Chaos Bolt, Rain of Fire, and Shadowburn always gain at least 70% of the maximum benefit from your Mastery Chaotic Energies. Dimension Ripper has been redesigned. Incinerate has a chance to tear open a Dimensional Rift or recharge Dimensional Rift if learned. I kind of like to just procking the Rift. You know, same issue with like the other classes where it's like procking instead of giving you the cooldown reduction, but this thing could be really good with AoE Incinerates and stuff. Raging Demon Fire now extends Immolate by 0.5 up from 0.2. I don't know if Raging Demon Fire is going to get into the game, man. Summon Infernal, move to row 6. Crashing Chaos, move to row 7. A bunch of talents are just moving around. And Infernal Brand has just been completely removed, which I think was like the Infernal's auto-attacking get more damage, which I don't know if it's a really big deal in PvP, but PvE might be a big deal as far as AoE. Reverted an unintentional change to Intervene's tooltip. Reap the Storm now also triggers from Cleave for Arms Warriors. So I've been giving Cleave a lot of attention, I think, recently. And Blade Master's Torment has been redesigned. Activating Avatar casts Sweeping Strikes. While Avatar is active, the cooldown of Cleave is reduced by 1.5. With recent updates to Bladestorm, this talent went from a strong synergy to a near lock-in, particularly for Slayers. Total Bladestorm uptime was also becoming disruptive, so we've redesigned this talent to be useful in AoE situations, provided a different rotational cadence during Avatar. They deleted this talent from PvP. I think this was the one where like you activate Avatar and it Bladestorms you, and when you Bladestorm it Avatars you. Now it's Sweeping Strikes. And it has Cleave in it. So they just completely just gutted Bladestorm out of the game, I think, for PvP. Which, I mean, if they wanted you to actually do your rotation and not be Bladestorming the whole time, then maybe that makes sense. I don't know how bad of a deal it was in PvE as far as, like, you just Bladestorming the whole time. But you are not going to be Bladestorming nearly as much now, which is a huge loss for Warriors. That's a huge hit. Fury Warrior, Berserker's Torment Tooltip, update with detailed information, no functional changes. Titan's Torment Tooltip, update with detailed information, no changes. Odin's Fury damage is game buffed by 133%. Okay. Reckless Abandon now buffs your next Bloodthirst and Raging Blow. And for protection, Immovable Object Tooltip just updated, no functional changes. Some pet battle changes. Really big updates here. I think Warrior got hit the hardest. A lot of other classes are just getting insane things that are going to proc and just do a ton of damage. This seems like a massive update overall, definitely massive. And as we're getting closer and closer to release, I think things are going to get tailored in more and more. So thank you very much for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoyed this update, and I will see you in the next one.